just talk a little bit about Kahua for subcontractors, where we were and how we got here. Talk about our analytics piece, the security certifications, the ability to pivot with our platform, our partnership approach. Then we'll end with questions and a thank you. So if you want to go to the next slide, Domingo. So Kahua for subcontractor, as noted, I think at the beginning of the other one, the founders of Kahua started a company called Constructware back in 1994. The product came out in 1997. They had Constructware and Constructware for subcontractors. In 2006, that was acquired by Autodesk. There were lessons learned that they gained from experience doing that. They wanted to be able to expand on what they did, and that's where Kahua came from. Our first full owner release was in 2014, and then obviously in the last 3 years, our Kahua subcontractor product came. And we're building strategic relationships with the specialty contractors. Next slide, please. So what is the Kahua for subcontractor? This is a great illustration here. So we know it's an underserved market today. You have many point solutions. Again, you're using a dock management piece. Typically, you have your manual solutions, managing safety in other areas. What we do know from doing this is we're not out of the box. We're not going to replace your accounting or estimating software. However, our goal is to be able to work on consolidating as many of those disparate solutions you have into that single source of truth with our database repository. I'd say over time, we can't fix some things that might be challenging in some of those areas. But, just today out of the box, this is where we're at. And if you want to go to the next slide, Domingo. So Kahua Analytics, this is extremely powerful for us. As you see here, this is our out-of-the-box analytics, I'll say dashboards that we built today. These are built embedded into the Kahua platform with Power BI. And today, there's a safety dashboard, a maintenance dashboard, and new construction. What this gives you and your team the ability to do is, executives can look at budgets, costs, are there going to be overruns, the schedule of projects. As a project manager, you're able to see open RFIs, open submittals, and just manage your day-to-day business with a true analytical tool built into Kahua. You want to go to the next slide? So security certifications. We talked a little bit about CMMC up front, but Kahua has achieved the highest security status in the US and the UK today. We don't claim to know your business or strategy. We're not going to know that part. We don't build, new buildings. We don't have safety maintenance programs. But what we can do because of our technological background is, we believe we're going to keep your data more secure than your team. Next slide, please. And that ability to pivot, right? Our strong foundation gives you and your company the ability to pivot. We're going to go at your speed. And from our experience, the best approach doing this is we're going to start with minor victories, right? That crawl aspect, and then get into the walking, and then into the running. Once you experience Kahua with RFIs, change orders, budgets, invoices, with our workflows and business processes in place, then you're able to change, some of these processes and workflows as needed or if needed, right? A lot of people out there today, you manage the implementation, you make decisions. It's kind of how you have to use that product then going forward. With Kahua, we have the ability to pivot because of our low-code technology and our platform as a service. So, you're not stuck, right? If you're growing, if you're changing, we're able to adapt with you. And then finally, next slide, please, Domingo. Which leads well into our partnership, right? From our presidents on down, we believe in partnering with our clients. We want to hear from you. We do industry roundtables with those specific, I'll say, businesses we work with, whether it's a GC, an owner, a K-12 owner, or a specialty contractor. And a great quote here from one of our longtime clients from Daleen Flooring, Gordon. What Kahua Analytics means to us is that day to day, they're able to manage what's going on in real time instead of setting hours aside to run reports and compile them. Now, they're not getting paid to manage their business, they get paid to perform projects in their business. So in order to perform their business, they need to manage it. And that's where technology comes in. And then next slide here, and we'll do a brief introduction. So a couple of things before we get into the demo. Myself, Aaron Hoover, client executive, and then I'm going to ask Tricia Anner to come on camera here. Hi, Tricia. Thank you for being here. We will be your follow-up people. We're happy to follow up, as needed after this. Probably a lot of you know Tricia from over time. She worked at Project Dock Control, has been with Kahua for years. So with that, I'm going to start by getting into the demo portion. And I want to begin that by introducing Luke Dean. Luke was part of the team that deployed Kahua for subcontractors to our former Project Dock Controls customers. And he has been intimately involved with several different organizations. So Luke, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Great, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, hey guys. So like Aaron mentioned, my name is Luke. I'm part of our professional services team here as an implementation consultant. I've spent several years before coming to Kahua in the general contracting world. So I was a project engineer over at a commercial GC, and then now I've been working for Kahua for roughly 4 years. So kind of coming over to the software side of things, and have been working with customers from all walks of life and all verticals and all market sectors to successfully stand up and implement Kahua.
Thank you, Luke. With that, at this time, I'm going to ask you to open the hood and give the folks in our audience an inside look at Kahua for subcontractors.
Okay, let's jump right into the product and spend some time demoing various aspects of Kahua. So as you can see on my screen, you're seeing Kahua for Subcontractor, our user interface. And we're going to begin with the end in mind. So what I mean by that is I have this analytics app open, is we're going to talk about the value of everything we're about to show you and how it's made apparent when you use Kahua Analytics. Okay, this is Power BI embedded into Kahua, so we can take the data you enter and visualize it via different widgets and modules and pictures and graphs. Okay, so that's what we're seeing here on our screen as we open up the Analytics app. As you can see across the bottom, there are also a lot of different tabs, kind of specializing in different pieces of data or different areas within Kahua. And all of this is interactive. So as we come in here and we can see our new construction, maybe I just want to see my new construction information. You can see now I'm just kind of filtering down the information to see those 26 projects. Maybe I want to come over here to the 7 renovation projects. Great, now I'm coming into the renovation projects, okay? We can see the spread across each of them. So all of these are filterable, selectable as we come in here and just want to see different areas of our projects, right? Maybe we want to come over to change order requests and we want to do a change order requests analysis. So we come in here, we can see our change order requests across our full portfolio, all broken up and classified underneath each of our projects. So we can roll up each of these projects and we can see that within each of these projects, what we have going, maybe what's not yet sent, approved, rejected, see the spread per project. Maybe I just want to see maybe for a certain project, what the spread between the various statuses are. So how much of my change orders are getting through. Okay, so lots of functionality here, lots of power, lots of value add, and we're going to kind of leave it there and move on. As we come up over here back into Kahua, we're going to come up to our application menu. And if we open up that application menu, you're going to see various sub-tabs here. So everything from all apps through cost management and doc management, index and project management. This is our app menu, right? This is our navigational menu where we can open up various apps to work in them. Okay, this is where you're going to find things like daily reports and field observations, where you can log meeting minutes or manage submittals. We have functionality here for punch lists on par with various point solutions that may be specializing in punch lists, where we're able to drop pins on drawings and manage those, as well as RFI management. Okay, we have other apps that we're going to cover today. So we're going to jump into those here momentarily, but wanted to point those out as definitely that is kind of that standard, that bread and butter, that baseline of functionality that I know different various subcontractors are looking for when they are choosing a PMIS. Okay, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and switch gears here, and we're going to start showing you guys and focusing on some of the other features and functionality that we have available to you here in Kahua, in addition to some of these other apps you see on the screen. The first one is project proposals, how we can get our estimating department, our estimating team involved here in Kahua. So what I'm going to do here is open up my little information icon next to my project, and let's show the project form, right? These are basic project details attached to my project, right? We're not talking about individual records like submittals or change orders at this point. This is more basic project information. And we have some cool functionality here. Okay, as you can see, there are 4 tabs across the top, one of them with being proposal. And here in my proposal tab, I can come into edit and I can build my internal base proposal for my project. So for my 12 Post Office Square project, I can fill out some basic details, how long my proposal is valid for, and build out the breakout of my base bid. Okay, so I can get my estimating team involved, what they estimated when they did their takeoff, when they did their whatever they did to build the estimate, they can come in here and we can enter that information. Okay, there's a few different places where we can templatize this information or maybe have some standard clarifications and exclusions that pull from a preset catalog. All options here. But I wanted to show this because this is that base bid, but this may not be the number that we send to each of the prospecting general contractors. Okay, so I'm going to come back over to the first tab, this bidding tab. And as you can see, or you may have already noticed, I have 3 bids that I have sent or are being sent to various general contractors. Well, the great part about this is where each of these, Capital Management, Reliant Contracting, and Main Street general contractors, I can actually kind of tweak the various bid amounts that I'm sending to each of these before I send them. So I can come in, I can pop out each of these individually. So maybe I want to come into my Capital Management bid, and I can pull in my bids, bid proposal, my base bid proposal, and alter the numbers to fit what I think I need to send to each of these general contractors. So lots of power there before I actually go and send it off. Then I simply click this bid proposal button. I'm going to get a PDF of the bid in a format of my choosing, and then I'll be able to send it out via email to my general contractor. So lots of cool functionality there. Okay, awesome. All right, moving on from there, let's go ahead and let's start talking about change orders. We know change orders is a big part of the subcontractor business and how important they can be to a project and how they can make and break in projects. So let's focus on here with change order requests and kind of get that genesis of a change order. All right, it's worth noting that we do have other applications that process into change order requests. So maybe you have an RFI or a field observation that may result eventually in a change order. Well, we can first log the RFI or field observation or whatever that record may be. And then if it does result in a change order, there is a simple process option to process it into a new change order. Okay, but coming into our change order request app, we can open it up. We can see all these various change orders here. We have different views we can choose. So this is what we call log views. So maybe I want to come in here and choose this JG status. Giving me a variety of different columns across the top, color indicators, groupings, filters, all sorts of different views there. So our log views. And these can all be configured within the UI, and each user with the given permissions and level of access will be able to come in here and create their own personal views, or we can make global views for everybody. So lots of cool stuff there. All right, so if we open up here, let's open up our electrical line relocation, and we're going to see some details. I'm going to come in here and come into edit view, open it up and show here we have this change order request form. The great thing about this change order request form is this was purpose built for the subcontractor market here at Kahua. So we have different variations of the form that kind of are specific to the sub market. Okay, everything from a detailed COR. So once I choose this detailed COR, below, I'm going to get 4 various sections of breakout. So labor summary, material summary, equipment, and subcontract summary. So I can break out my costs individually and show the detail. When I use this type, I have a catalog of information for my labor, material, and equipment where I can store common rates, material rates, labor rates, and pull them in and just simply put quantities next to each of them and tie them back to activity or cost codes. I have the flexibility to do individual section markups. I can get all the way down to the line item with my markups, or I can do a general markup across the full change order as well as some various tax functionality as well. Okay. As we come up here, maybe I do just have a summary COR. So instead of that detail, I am not required to do that detail of a breakout. So I have this one section to do my breakout here, and I can come in here and enter the items. And then I have my percentages and my markup below. Okay. Once we have this, we have all of our statuses. So with detailed COR, summary, whatever it is, we have the same status list. So as we manage these change order requests, we have these statuses, which if you recall, directly relate back to our analytics dashboard on our change orders. So you can start seeing the spread as things are approved or not yet sent or pending. So we save all the changes we made. We're ready to send it off to our general contractor, so we can easily use this send feature, generate a message or an email template out of Kahua, external or outbound. It's going to attach this change order request, again, in the format of our choosing. So basically, if you have a specific form, we can recreate that to an extent here in Kahua and send it out to our general contractor. Okay, let's say this change order request goes out to the GC, they review it and they approve it. So we come back here, we mark it approved. So we're tracking our statuses diligently here, and then we can process this over. What we're doing at this point is taking our change order request and actually hitting our bottom line contract, so our full contract with our general contractor, which is also stored here in Kahua. Well, I can take that funding change order, process it over, and you can see what we call a funding change order is now created. This is a contract change order in Kahua, where we can take the information entered in that change order, fill out the additional details, and we can now have it available for us in our next billing cycle. Okay, so what I mean by that, right, is once we process it over and save, we come over to our pay applications. It's time for our next monthly pay application. Well, we relate our pay app. We need to bill against our contract here, so we get to choose our contract. And once we come in here, we get to fill out various details on a pay application. We get to come down, you're going to see some familiarity with the AIA 702 and 703 fields available. And then we have our schedule values here. So this is our approved schedule values, where we can come in here and do progress billing, where we can either do percentage to date or work completed this period. And once we do that, you're going to see our percentages change. So as we start billing and as we start building this higher, we can start seeing the work that we've done. Okay, and do progress billing. We have retainage. All of this information is stored here. Okay. One last note here on change order requests. So I'm going to come right back over to the app we had open. Is coming to this change order requests, you may have noticed this icon. Okay, this little icon here is what we call our discussions feature. So this discussions feature is a great way for us to manage and store conversations or threads. This can be private or public threads between two or more people, where we can start a discussion and say, hey, this discussion, this is kind of information between me, it's between Andrew, and in this case, we'll do Brandon. Okay, so me, Andrew, and Brandon, I have some kind of conversation I need to have, a private conversation I need to have between these three people, all related to this change order request. I'm able to come in here, type what I need to do. So please review the breakout, especially look at markups. And I need to attach a file. So I can upload a file here. Hey, here's my file, it's uploaded. And now I have kind of a reference document, a note, and I'm having a private conversation tied to COR number 115 here in Kahua. Okay, so here we have, please review the breakout, especially look at markups. It's between me, Andrew, and Brandon, where we can now have a conversation. We can have as many of these threads as possible or as we would like, and they all get managed here underneath the discussions. Okay, so a great feature. This feature is available across all of the apps. So any individual app, any record you click on, you'll be able to see that discussions icon. Awesome. All right, moving on there, let's cover one more application that relates to cost. and that's what we're going to call our monthly project status. So each of us, I know, probably does some sort of forecasting or status report as we go forward from one month to the next or a quarter to the next. So what we have here is the ability to manage that. We can come in, we can create a monthly project status, choose our current period so we can actually see what our current financial period is. I am currently in August. And we open this up. As we open this up, we're going to go ahead and scroll right on down to the meat of the form here where we have our labor and material forecast broken out. So we can kind of break out these different codes, assign them to each of these charts or these grids, and we can forecast out what we expect to spend on our project. So we're first pulling in actuals. We're pulling in budget versus actual. So we've budgeted for the job versus what we've actually spent on the job to date. And then we have one simple PM input. So something very, very quick and easy for our PMs to do to help us generate forecasts for future expenses, how profitable our projects are going to be. So everything about how many projected hours to complete, subjective hours, based on remaining work. Hey, I have spent 75. I have 25 actual hours remaining in my budget, but hey, I actually think I'm going to need a few more hours to clean this up, so I'm going to need 40 more hours. Well, this is all going to give us projections and say that, hey, for this one line, budget line item, I think we're going to be a little bit over, but hey, I still have 350 hours here. I actually only think I need 250 hours here, so I'm going to be at $3,500 savings here, projected savings here, okay, as we start managing our projections or our monthly project status. Okay, this is all for our labor costs up here, so we're doing all against hours. And below we have our material forecast. So these are all just straight costs. So hey, material costs remaining on a job. Okay, by default, it's going to do the remaining amount and zero out for us unless we come in here and we update accordingly. Okay, so powerful stuff here. We do have workflow available. So if you need to get these approved by your manager at the end of each month, we can. We do have statuses involved with those and automatic slip sheeting. Okay. So as we can see here, let me come back to that log view quickly. We have two superseded, a current and a draft. Once this newest record, my August of 2024 record, becomes the current version, all previous current version will become superseded automatically. So either by the touch of a button by automatically setting to current or by routing through your workflow to submit it. Okay. Powerful stuff there. All right, as we move on, let's come to our safety suite. That's the next app we're going to look at. So some awesome stuff to track safety. So if I open up my safety app here, you can see there are 5 tabs underneath safety. Okay, so everything from injury log through general liability events. Let's quickly walk through these and kind of some of their use cases. The first one is our injury log. An injury happens on a job site. Well, I can come in here and log that injury. So who was completed by, the report date, and start filling out the information about who was injured, what the injury was. This is all OSHA standard information, and you're going to see why here in just a moment. Okay, if I want to come in here and let's say, hey, I see this injury log was completed by Steve here and Jason Dunn was the injured party. Well, I can come in and I can view this form. And when I view this form, you can see my OSHA 301 automatically pops up with all the information that I entered reporting out on my OSHA 301. So automatically happens for us. No need for us to go and fill out the form because it's already filled out for us. Okay. In addition to that, let's come into our report. So let's say we need to run a year-end report. And so let's come into our OSHA 300 log. Let's open that up. Let's render our OSHA 300. I want to view it or go straight to a download. And we can see now, here's our OSHA 300. So we can see our yearly or annual report log with everything coming in and mapping accordingly. So great, powerful stuff. From here, you can download it. You can send it via email. You can save it back to Kahua into our file manager structure. So all sorts of options from here. Okay. One thing as we kind of get into safety that I know is a popular question is going to be HIPAA regulations and make sure we are secure in the data that we are entering in the system. As far as the data security, absolutely. We can lock these apps down as tight as we need to via our permission management. So you can set permissions for these apps just for a select 1, 2, maybe 3 people. That safety manager, the people who should or do have access to see this information. Other than that, everyone else would not be able to view any of this information. So absolutely, we can lock it down. Okay. From our injury log, we have our training register. So as we have multiple employees, site personnel, whoever need to complete trainings, we can manage those trainings. So we can come in here and say, okay, well, who has been trained and what are the date of some of their trainings? So let's look at Charlie's training register. Well, here's his training register. He has an employee number, an onboarding date. And I see that he has completed his OSHA 10, and here's his card number. He's first aid, CPR, and AED certified, a signaling and fall protection. But there are still some missing dates here, so he can still get some more certifications. One great thing about Kahua that I need to mention is how configurable we are. Okay, you can see there are some set fields here we can manage as far as some training dates. Let's say some of these do not apply or not applicable to your business. Totally fine. There is a quick and easy way within the user interface to modify the labels of these and to repurpose these fields. So if you don't use rigging equipment for your work, well, let's go ahead and relabel this and repurpose this so we can track another certification. So all sorts of options here. We can upload pictures, references, attachments, anything like that to these forms. All right, from Training Register, we come over to Toolbox Talks, and in Toolbox Talks, we can come in here and manage our Toolbox Talks. So as the safety manager, you can templatize these Toolbox Talks and then send them out to various job sites, foremen, so they can hold those meetings. Okay, so we can come in here, we can create our templates. So let's say this month, this week, however often we hold these Toolbox Talks, we have emergency preparedness. Okay, we've attached a document that kind of helps our foremen or our site personnel know what they need to cover. And we can list in a grid format who all this needs to be sent to. So maybe we come in here, we scroll on down to our Toolbox Talk grid, we insert a new line and we say, hey, this needs to be sent to Steve Stankiewicz. Okay, so he is our foreman, our site guy, he's part of our central division or department, and I'm gonna just save and close. So I'm gonna add one more person. Obviously, if you had multiple, you would add more. And I'm able to send to presenter. Okay, all I needed to do was send it to presenter entry. Steve now is going to receive a task into his task inbox. So Kahua is a task-based software where you can create ball and court tasks. So Steve now has a ball and court task to conduct a Toolbox Talk on emergency preparedness. Okay, this is available on mobile. So if he is on his mobile tablet or phone, whatever it might be, his mobile device, he's able to access this and do all of this work there. Okay, so Steve comes in, he's able to see that task, enters information, send it back to me as the safety manager, and I can review it and make sure that his notes and his feedback is adequate before closing it. Okay. Awesome. From Toolbox Talks, let's come over to auto incidents. So auto incidents, very straightforward, but this, if we do have any auto incidents, using vehicle or company vehicles, we can come in here and log that. So we can log some standard auto incident information, media attachments. Here's a body shop invoice. Maybe we want to, view that invoice so that we have made the fix, and here's the amount it costs. Okay. Great. As we come over from auto incidents, we have general liability events. So the same concept or a similar concept, but anything that's kind of underneath the GL or the general liability. We have some standard fields here we can use to fill out some details, media references, anything that helps us generate about those events. So lots of great functionality here within our safety suite. Last but not least, I'm going to come back to our application menu, and we're going to talk about our service suite. So many of you may be in that service space or maintenance space where you can go back in and see those small, quick jobs. We have some apps to cover those that department as well. Okay, so let's say we have some service quotes. That's the first app we're going to go through. And we are quoting our service jobs. So our service department has access to these apps that are coming in here, and they are starting to log different service quotes. So people that they're quoting, they're going to start logging what the quote is, what they need to track as far as information, who the client is, various pieces of information as they start pulling all this information in. All right, rates and conditions. So they're putting their tax rates, markup rates, and labor rates all in there. Okay. Materials and labor, so what material and equipment is going to be needed to fix this job. This is great because we can come in here, we can insert line items here, just insert description. We can be as general or specific as we want, and based on the percentages we wrote above, we're going to get breakout here. Okay, so you can start putting all of your data in as markups, taxes, and all this information will all get put in here. So it's a grid. You can put as many line items as you need to fill out your estimate accordingly. Okay, same concept with equipment, and add those attachments. All right, once we do that, we can generate that PDF and send it out to our owner or our client, so we can do the work, or we can bid the work anyway. Once we have that service quote completely filled out with all the information and relevant information, we're ready to send it out to our general contractor. So as we come up here to the send button, we can send. It's going to take that form that we filled out, PDF it, and send it as an attachment email. Let's say the GC or our client, reviews the service quote and it comes back as approved. Great, we can take that approved service quote and we have this lovely process button here. And that process button can take it and process it over into a new project. So we can structure our portfolio to have a specific folder for our service jobs, so we can drop them all there. Once we do that, we start processing. Okay, so once we start processing, we have a new project in our portfolio. So we can come up to our project finder, come in here, maybe we're doing some work at the Apple Store. So it's a little bit of maintenance work here at the Apple Store, at the North Shore Mall. And we've quoted that job. So that quote comes over here. It's automatically going to be put into the project bidding, or how much the project's going to be, the proposal, the bid amount. So obviously it's not going to be, probably our service work isn't going to be 31 million, but whatever we processed over would come into this form or field there. From that, we can say, okay, well, we have our project. Maybe we need to process that bid amount into a new budget. So we can come in here and actually take this amount, and we're going to be able to take it and build a budget off of it if we need to get into that level of detail, if it's a larger service job. Or maybe that's sufficient, and now when it comes to day of or week of, when it's time to do the work, we have this app called Daily Work Reports. So if we come into our Daily Work Reports underneath the D's, open this up, we're going to have the ability here underneath our new project to create a new daily work report. So we open it up, we're able to enter details along that daily work report, what work was completed that day, do some internal labor tracking, what equipment was used, what materials were installed, and pull all this in. We can either pull it ad hoc or pull from a predefined catalog that we can keep updated as well. So lots of cool functionality here. And the one extra thing I'll quickly point out here is we've built in some functionality for different permission levels to see cost data and not cost data. So you're going to have your site guys filling these forms out so they can come in. We're going to give them access to add new documents or contribute to these forms. But when they contribute to these forms, they're just going to be able to contribute what was done on the job. What we have is a higher level of access. So you're going to have more of an admin level access or moderator level of access who can see the costs associated with the work done. So that's going to be the labor rates here, your equipment and material rates as well. Okay, so we have that functionality as well to separate that if need be. Okay, so let me come right back over into the previous project just so we can see some stage data, so we don't have to watch me do any type of data entry. Okay, so you can see in this case, maybe Charlie was our site guy. We have clock in, clock out functionality, or they can just enter their time as well as what time for lunch, and it's going to automatically calculate straight time versus overtime for us. Okay, what equipment was used and what materials were installed. So you can see in this case there are no cost data. If I switched over to an account with some more access, I'd be able to see that cost information. All right, and last but not least for our demo today, we are finishing up. Is the purchase orders, right? Purchase orders are another big part of our industry here. So we can come into all apps or cost management and we can manage our purchase orders. So we open up POs and we can start creating new POs and start tracking this. So maybe, hey, in this case, we purchased 5,000 feet of 3/4 inch wire. Well, let's open this one up. Let's show it. Let's fill out some additional details or see what details we've filled out. Attach a vendor. We're going to have all sorts of fun shipping information and how we can track where this gets shipped, as well as the items that we are purchasing. Okay, so in this case, we do have to material, right? You do have the option to include labor in your POs. You do not have to. If these are strict material POs, then simply just choose your material items. Okay, create unit pricing, totals, everything like that, and you can go off and write the POs. Okay, so lots of cool functionality here as well. Awesome. All right, guys, well, we showed a lot of functionality today, got in depth a little bit as well, and try to keep a little bit at high level, so a little bit of a mix, but hopefully you guys can start seeing some of the value proposition that Kahua brings to the subcontractor market and to your business. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the demo portion. I appreciate you guys listening and being attentive. I thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Luke, for that lovely demo. We're going to go ahead and start the Q&A session of this demo. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dominga. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and look at our chat, see what our Q&A section, excuse me, and let's see what questions we have. Looks like we got some coming in right now. All right, first question I see is, does Kahua have a mobile app? Great question. Yes, we do. We have a mobile app available on iOS and Android. So you can actually access Kahua 3 different ways. We have a downloaded desktop version. So if you're working on your desktop computer, you do have an application you can download to your PC. We have a web browser version and any web browser you'd like to use. And we also have that mobile app I mentioned. Great question. Keep submitting those questions. All right, I've got a question that came in. It says, let's see, what does the process and schedule look like for updates to the system? Another great question. Kahua is constantly updating and making our product better. We're always looking for ways we can improve the various apps and functionality throughout Kahua. Right now, we have a roughly 8-week schedule for what we call a major release schedule. So we're constantly about roughly every 2 months releasing major updates with functionality that spans across a multitude of apps. Our product and development teams are hard at work always on that. We are constantly looking for any type of performance improvements we can make just to continually make our product better. All right. Awesome. What other questions do we have? All right. I see one coming in here. Is there a way for Kahua to talk to my accounting system? Also, great question. You guys are full of good questions today. Is there a way for Kahua to talk to my accounting system? Yes. Kahua is a very what we call friendly software, and we have what we call an open API. So we can build our we have built our software to be communicative to other softwares, especially those accounting softwares. So we do those very often where we can integrate and talk back between Kahua and your accounting software. Today, we do have what we call an out-of-the-box integration. So if you guys do have the Sage intact product for your accounting system, we can actually turn that on very quickly and easily, and we can talk with Aaron and Nicholas and Trisha about what that pricing model looks like should that occur in the future. All right, what other questions do we see? Any others? These are some good questions, guys. Right. I think those are all the questions we have for today. I'll keep monitoring the chat and can respond as necessary. And Aaron, is it back to you now?
It is, yeah. Thank you again, Luke. That was impressive. Really appreciate you digging into Kahua Subcontractor product. So at this time, what we're going to do, I'm going to make an introduction to Nicholas Johnson. He is Kahua's Chief Evangelist. So welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Great. Fantastic. Yes. So just quick, if you want to talk for a minute or two Tell us a little bit about Kahua's overall vision and how our subcontractor solution fits into that vision.
Well, yeah, thank you, Aaron. It's a good question. I think it's pertinent to our audience. As you reviewed earlier in the presentation, and I'm not sure, if our audience, we lost our audience for a little while, but as we talked about, we were born out of another company called Constructware that was sold to Autodesk, and we rebooted as Kahua. And in that reboot, there were a couple of industry problems that our founders were determined to solve. One was the bottleneck of development. When we sold Constructware to Autodesk, we had 2,200 items, 2,200 wish list items that we had hoped to do for our clients, things that we'd agreed would be good for our product. But with limited development, you can only do so much so fast. And that's how long our list had grown in just 9 years of that product. In founding Kahua and in spending 5 years in research and development, our founders developed a platform for applications to be developed on. We work on that platform constantly. We've developed the core applications, but it's an open platform that others can build apps on. So Kahua, for any of our clients, can be modified quite easily. You can add additional functionality. That's not what we offer out of the box for subcontractors, but it is a possibility. It means you don't have to wait years for development if there's something that's really important to your business. The second issue that they tried to address, that a problem we'd actually caused when we brought PMIS to the internet, was the issue of data ownership. As specialty contractors, most of you have to log into a general contractor's project management tool, put critical information in there, and then recreate that critical information in your own records. Everyone needs their own, record of history and record of information for their project. So if you have to do it in someone else's, you have to do it twice. Well, we've solved that problem with our connected network strategy. A Kahua subcontractor can communicate with a Kahua general contractor, putting everything into his own database, into his own website. So you author everything in your own site, and when you need to send something or submit something to a general contractor or even to an owner, you're able to do that without losing that information. You keep what you created, they keep what you sent. Everyone has access and visibility appropriately based on permissions and sharing, but you don't ever have to create things twice. So those are two of the things that we founded the company with those principles in mind. They are paying off in spades now. We're happy to talk more about those at another time. One other thing that I would just bring to market, Aaron, that I would bring to everyone's attention is our ability to help our customers meet the impending CMMC requirements, the cybersecurity maturity model. The certification program for that is going to begin to take place at the end of this year, beginning of next year. Any subcontractor that works in the defense industry, anyone that does any kind of projects related to a DoD owner, will be required to obtain these certifications based on what their project is and what kind of sensitive information they carry. Those certification processes are really difficult. It's not something that our consulting team does, but we're developing a network of partners to help you with that. There are now 55 companies in the United States that help with that certification process. We're not part of that. That's not the job we do. What I want folks to know is that the security measures we've already put in place, FedRAMP, StateRAMP, TexRAMP, those things help our customers achieve CMMC with a lesser scope of difficulty, a lesser scope of work, and a less degree of difficulty. So it's a bit of a fast track for that process. So if you are in the DoD space and that's important to you, please reach out to Aaron or anyone on our team, and we'll be glad to tell you more about it. I think that's probably more time than you expected me to take, Aaron, so I'll give it back to you.
That was fantastic, Nicholas. Thank you so much. Yeah, lots of great information. I think with that, I will get it turned back over to Dominga to close this out. But as Nicholas said, look, we are here to serve you in the sub and specialty contractor industry. We are happy to follow up. We hope to follow up, and as needed, we'll get you more information, more answers on what comes about to everyone.